Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols, reaming my body.
Alright guys, I haven't really done this in a long time. I always say I'm going to try to do this every single week, but I always forget. I don't know, I'm going to try to do it every single week. I might as well just say it again, right? But I'm going to be replying to a handful of you guys' comments and essentially giving you guys what I think about them. And of course, as always, if you guys comment in any of the videos, there's a small chance that I'll probably read one of your comments on a video like this and actually give you guys a response in video format. But regardless, into the first comment, this right here is an interesting one. Katari Brown, he basically says, I think the two broken symbols are Urashiki and Toneri. Now, if you guys don't necessarily recall what this was, when Sasuke was actually fishing for information about Ishiki Otsutsuki or Jigen at the time, he actually stumbled into another Otsutsuki dimension where he's seen a bunch of symbols on the wall. I made a video about this a couple of days ago and I kind of broke it all down. But there are two separate symbols that we didn't necessarily know who those symbols actually did represent in regards to other Otsutsuki members. Now, this guy's essentially saying that one is going to be Urashiki and one is going to be Toneri. Now, I think that Urashiki is a very good idea, but Toneri is not necessarily a very good idea. Now, I respect Toneri and everything, but the thing about Toneri is that he's not a full-blown Otsutsuki member. And this right here is something very similar to what people say about Hagoromo and also Hammer. People also think that the two symbols may actually represent the Sage of Six Paths and his brother. I kind of think that partial Otsutsuki members probably wouldn't be in situations like this, mainly because the other four are full-blooded Otsutsuki members, and that's the reason why I think that Urashiki himself may actually be a part of that. Now, the thing about Urashiki Otsutsuki that's very interesting is the fact that he has actually been in the core storyline, but he hasn't necessarily been the core storyline in regards to the actual manga. So for Urashiki to actually be visualized in a symbol in the manga will kind of be a little odd, but I'd still accept Urashiki being one of these symbols. Now, I think the overall big question that a lot of people don't necessarily ask a lot of the times is who was Urashiki's actual teammate? Like, hypothetically, if it wasn't Toneri, I know a lot of you guys will probably still think it's Toneri because, of course, we don't really know. It's not necessarily set in stone, but hypothetically, if it wasn't Toneri, who was really Urashiki's actual teammate? When Urashiki first appeared in the whole Naruto storyline, if you guys didn't necessarily recall this, the first appearance was like in Naruto Shippuden. We've seen Momoshiki, we've seen Kinshiki, and we've seen Urashiki. They appeared as a trio. From everything that we've actually gotten to see in Boruto, Otsutsuki members actually appear in duos. Now, we understand that Momoshiki and Kinshiki, they themselves were duos, and if we were actually to think that, of course, all Otsutsuki members come in duos, who in the world is Urashiki's duo? And hypothetically, are we going to probably get to see that duo later on down the line in the story? I think this right here would definitely be absolutely amazing for a couple of things. I think one of the biggest ones, in my personal opinion, would probably be like a movie. I think a lot of people have been saying that a Boruto movie has been well overdue for a very long time. If you guys do recall, back in Naruto, we got movies like damn near almost every other year. And I think Boruto being a series for almost 4 years now and not having a movie at all, a movie is definitely well overdue. And to have an actual villain being an Otsutsuki member, the teammate of Urashiki Otsutsuki, would probably be an absolutely amazing thing. Now, of course, I don't necessarily want to completely X out the fact that it could possibly be Toneri, but I'm just going to personally say, from my opinion, I strongly doubt it. All right, the next comment comes from Wibu Critis. His comment basically says, will Kawaki be able to use shrinking ability like Ishiki if he gets his karma back? All right, so I think there's a very big misconception. I think the misconception as of right now is when you truly use the karma seal, which is the karma seal version 2, you immediately start to use every single ability that the Otsutsuki member that actually did give you the karma seal actually does use. We have not actually seen that yet. The only time that we did actually get to see someone genuinely and fully use the second stage of the karma seal was Jigen, but that right there in itself was very different, man, because Ishiki Otsutsuki was actually alive, and not only was he actually alive, he was literally controlling the body of Jigen, so it's completely different. However, I do think it's possible that Kawaki learns that ability, but will he be able to just use it all willy-nilly like how Jigen was able to use it? I don't really think so, and I think it probably wouldn't necessarily be a core ability that Kawaki actually does unless he has a lot of time actually training with that ability. Now, to be honest, hypothetically, if Kawaki does actually gain this ability, I think it can go two separate ways. I think one of the best ways that a lot of people would want to see this actually go, because as of right now, Kawaki doesn't really have that much ability. People will want to see Kawaki use it frequently, and not just frequently. I think the greatest example of actually taking an ability and making it your own is what Sasuke did with the Chidori. Kakashi created the Chidori, but Sasuke essentially learned the Chidori, not only learned it, but also incorporated it in multiple different techniques, and vice versa. It can go the completely opposite way. Kawaki can actually gain this ability, but just never uses it. Similar to what Sasuke does with his Rinnegan ability. He has all of these abilities with his Rinnegan, or he did have all of these abilities with his Rinnegan, but he just 100% never uses it, and no one really knows exactly why. But when it comes to the overall question of if Kawaki would actually have the shrinking ability, I think so. And I honestly think one of the biggest indicators of this is that in the future, Kawaki has the same exact staff that Ishiki Otsutsuki does have in the future. Now, this right here isn't just for show. It's not necessarily just for cosmetics. One of the most effective attacks that Jigen did actually use was essentially popping those rods up out of nowhere and completely impaling his enemies. There weren't just regular rods. Of course, they did a lot of damage by just them being impaled, but also it took chakra from their enemies. I think Kawaki having that rod is definitely telling. I definitely think that he probably will actually have it. Now, some people have actually asked me, do I think that Kawaki will actually gain Ishiki Otsutsuki's dojutsu? I think that right there is going to be a lot more unlikely, man, because we've only seen it one time. We've only seen it in Ishiki Otsutsuki. If hypothetically Kawaki does run into somebody that has it, I think it would be very unlikely that he'd be able to actually take it from that character, because he'd probably also be extremely strong. All right, so the next comment comes from Cheese. He asks, if Sasuke gets another Rinnegan, would it be this Rinnegan? Because we all know his Rinnegan was stronger than just a regular one with no Tomoe, and if it gave Sasuke his unique place switching ability. All right, so here's the thing. I honestly think that if Sasuke gets another Rinnegan, he probably would have it with the Tomoe. Now, I want to make this clear. This is all speculation. 100% all speculation. We don't know for sure. The reason why I'm going to say I think so is because Sasuke inherently still probably has some Sage of Six Paths chakra. And of course, what we do understand is that that Rinnegan actually did come from the Sage of Six Paths. Now, of course, he didn't necessarily take it out of his eye and give it to Sasuke. No, the chakra from the Sage of Six Paths let Sasuke awaken that type of Rinnegan. And because that chakra is still inside of Sasuke, of course, it's very possible that it just manifests again. Now, of course, it wouldn't necessarily be completely out of the realm possibility that he possibly need a little bit more Senju chakra. Maybe he gets some, I don't know, Naruto cells or even some Hashirama cells from Orochimaru or something like that. But I do not really think that they just regress Sasuke's Rinnegan hypothetically if he himself would actually awaken another one. Now, of course, there's definitely a possibility that Sasuke just steals Rinnegan from somewhere else, and of course it becomes the regular Rinnegan. Hypothetically, if he runs into another Otsutsuki member, and that Otsutsuki member actually does have like a Rinnegan like Urashiki did, and I don't know why Sasuke didn't steal his Rinnegan, topic for a different time, but I wouldn't necessarily be completely surprised if Sasuke would actually do something like that and actually gain a Rinnegan of that type in that type of way. But let me know what you guys think about these questions in the comment section below, and of course I'm gonna try to do these once a week. Let me know what you guys think. It's been your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.